I'd like to call the meeting to order this morning and acknowledge that we are in Treaty 1 territory, the home and traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Inuit, Cree, and Dakota peoples, and in the national homeland of the Red River Métis. Our drinking water comes from Shoal Lake 40 First Nation in Treaty 3 territory. My name is Brent McIntyre, and I'll be chairing the meeting this morning. Also on the panel today, zooming in, is Gail Anderson and Michelle Duncan, as well zooming in. Our assessor today is Matthew Baracus, and our reporting secretary is Belhan Rojo. To the Zoom participants of the hearing, please note you are placed in the waiting room until your property is called upon. When it is your turn, you will be admitted into the meeting. Kindly follow along on the City of Winnipeg's Border Revision YouTube channel for the hearing process. Once the host admits you into the hearing, please close or mute your YouTube player. You will then be permitted to speak with respect to your property. Once your hearing has concluded, you can leave the meeting. We will be hearing applications for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested have been described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statements that are made at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to the matters must be sworn in. Be advised that comparisons of assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The Board of Revision is appointed annually by Council and is independent of it and the City Administration. It makes its decisions on the basis of the evidence provided at this hearing and issues a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of King's Bench if the matter pertains to the application of exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with the board's order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the points of appeal with your property to be addressed with each applicant following the swearing in. We will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the applicant may have, and then the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each side will have an opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all of the evidence about an application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each item on the docket today. The session will close after all the applications have been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the board's decision by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live streamed, recorded, and will be part of the public record. We will be hearing items 1 through 10 on our docket today. Ms. Rojo, please affirm the assessors and the applicant's testimony. Thank you.
Mr. Assessor, please state your full name.
Matthew Stephen Barocus.
And you affirm the evidence about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Mr. Applicant, please state your full name.
Rocky Newville.
And you affirm the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. First property on the docket today is 211 Thurso Street. And are there any preliminary issues with this property, either party?
Not for us, no.
No.
No? Okay, Matthew, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. File 22-2693, roll number 1203-154-7000, 211 Thurso Street. We have an assessed value of $464,000 for the 2023 roll year, April 1st, 2021 reference date. 1949 on the year built. We don't have an effective year built on it. It's got 4 units, 4 outdoor parking spots. Properties at the corner of Thurso and Corden. Page 2 shows request for income information. They've always handed in their information to us, so it's never been an issue. And there's no recent sales. Page 3 shows it's comprised of 4 2-bedroom units with our modeled valuation here with an average monthly rent of $1,038.81. Our model expense ratio on the vacancy at 5.65 cap generates a valuation of $116,000 per suite. Rent comparables are found on page 4. So you can see that the properties that I selected here were in the area. They comprise 1, 3, and 4 of 1 and 2 bedroom units. The one Warsaw comparable number 2 is, it's also 4 units only, built within 5 years of the property, and has a highly similar rent to our averaged modeled monthly rent. So at 1,038.81, we're right in line with comparables on this one. Page 5 is cap rate evidence. This is a sample of sales that took place during the reference period. I know at this point you've heard my story about these already, but they're just not meant to be site specific to the subject property. They're just meant to substantiate the 20th to 80th percentile of the model range, which on the next page you can see goes from 4.8 to 5.6. The majority of our sales here are in that range. They're in the 4.77 to 5.74. We have one outlier at 3.6 on that one, but that one is the outlier, not the norm. We also have some model cap rates that are above 5.8 as well, but the meat of the distribution and the sales available are in line with our 20th to 80th percentile. So that's what we would like to see. We go to page 8. The only permit I could find on this property, exterior alterations, just to repair rear exit stairwell. It was less than $10,000 about 15, 16 years ago, and that's a repair. So I wouldn't consider that something that boosts the value. It was just something I found and I put in when I was making my brief here. Page 9, that shows just the exterior of the property. And page 10, that's where the mailers begin. So, pardon me, you can see that they're saying they collected 43,353, and they had expenses that were in excess of what they said they collected. That's 60,000. See, the art repair maintenance at $38,000 for 4 units is pretty high. If I calculated that out, just roughly 765 divided by 4, that's about 9,691 per unit on a 4-unit basis. So it's a lot higher than what we typically see. Typically for building this stage, you'd be around the $1,500 mark. Another thing I noticed on page 11, they didn't say any vacancy or bad debt. So that, it seems there's a bit of incomplete information there. And why I'm making that comment is if you go to page 12, you can see that there's a rental suite income of potential of $66,925, but they're only saying they're collecting 43. So I'm not sure if, and parking here, it says it's not included in the rent. But when you go back to page 10, they don't report parking, the level of parking income they're getting from that particular line item. Page 11, they don't say, they don't indicate the amount of vacancy they have. There could be some discounts involved. We don't have any more details on what's available on this mailer. So we're just stuck with the model on this one. If you go to the next page, page 13, again, similarly, they're showing much lower income compared to what at least the next year statement potential was. And also they're at almost $16,000 repair and maintenance, and $17,000 repair and maintenance. So if you want $16,000 repair and maintenance divided by 4, you're still at $4,000 per unit, which is a lot higher than what we typically see. Again, they're reporting losses. So it'd be good to know what sort of work they were doing in there, if they're fixing units up, but we don't have that information. So long story short, I just went with the model on this one. It's got a 5.65 cap, and it's just like it's off Corden Avenue, Corden and Thurso. So it's an attractive area. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Rocky, any questions?
Yes, I do. Just looking at this rental study you did, the $1,038, that's what the model is indicated, correct?
Yeah, that's the model.
And if we looked at, and I'll get into this later, but just for the math only, if you looked at your page 10, the income of 43,353, that would indicate a number much lower. Now I'm calculating $903, but I guess my question is, that's a substantial variance from the model, isn't it?
Yeah, based on what they're reporting.
Yeah, and I know what your comments you made earlier about explaining it. We're just talking about the math now.
Yeah, that's true. That's a fact.
Yeah, I am not disagreeing there. Now, you put in 3 years of statements, and all 3 years show money losses. Confirm that?
Yes, that's true.
Okay. Those are my only questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
Just in regards, Matthew, to the last, is it muted? The last inspection of this building? Is there a note on file when the last inspection was of this property?
Just let me pull that up now. I think that's a good question. Pardon me. I think it would be good to check out, or get some details where they're putting those repairs, why they're reporting a loss. Maybe the applicant can shed some light on that, but I'm pulling up the notes right now. In the meantime, let's see here. Yeah. Exterior. Yeah, we don't have any recent interior inspections, so I can't comment on what the inside looks like. I just don't know.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions.
Thank you. Michelle?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions, so Rocky, you can proceed with your presentation.
Thanks. And I'm not complaining about anything, but for some reason the microphones are some are really loud and some are really quiet. I don't know if there's a balancing thing that gets done or not.
Which one is quiet?
Yours is quiet. Michelle's was loud. I think Gail's was pretty loud, and I can't hear Bellin at all.
Well, I'm not really speaking, but I think that might be on your end because.
Okay, if we have a bit of a glitch there, we'll just muddle through. Okay, just in case I'm not coming through loud. I was worried.
Well, you're coming through fine, and I'm only about 3 inches from the microphone.
Okay. So 211 Thurso is actually the ownership has 3 blocks in the vicinity on Corridon. So they have now they're not run together. They're all separate statements on all of them, but they do have some holdings in the area, and this is the 4-plex. There's 2 8-plexes that they also have. The big issue here is that it's a 4-plex, and with with using the income approach on a smaller building, it really is difficult to do because one expense, how do I say this? Half of your expenses will be fixed and half of them are variable. And what variable expense would mean that if your rent goes up and down, the expense goes with it. It's an issue like heat. But then the fixed expenses, anything to do with accounting, legal, the repair work, for example, the stairwell that the assessor brought up, $9,200 to fix. Well, what that means, it's $2,300 per unit. And whereas if this were 31 units, that would be $300 a unit. And that's what skews off the expense ratio. A lot of times these are purchased by not necessarily by investors, but by people who look at it as an easy to get investment of a lower cost to get in, and maybe even have want to live in one of the units. But they're not great for on the income approach, and so we tend to have this debate with these small units. So the bottom line is, if you're going to use the income approach, you got to take the good and the bad, and fourplexes don't do well. That's our main issue here. And what we did when we looked this over is we provided the last three statements, and the assessor has provided them. What we did is we adjusted the repair and maintenance downwards to 1,800 per unit, and then redid the numbers and showing those as NOIs that vary from 7,200 to 14,000. We did end up just using the highest one, so the highest revenue and the lowest expenses, $14,196. And I can give you the 10-year average has been $13,975. So this is there's no anomalies there. It's just higher maintenance costs. I think the stairwell issue just really drives home the point we're making on that one small fixed expense. And the reason they have to do these expenses is because they're a rental property. If they don't do them, then they can't rent, because there are standards to live up to. It's not your own house where you can just let it go for a couple of years. So that's the issue there. Now, the other thing, the assessor, I mean, I understand his point. It looks like they had $60,000 potential, but they're only declaring $43,000. All properties of this type are governed by the residential tenancies branch, and every rent for every suite has to be registered, no matter how much you're actually collecting. And you can ask for increases over the year, but that doesn't mean you're charging them. It's just putting the book rent on it. And what they provided in their statement was the book rent that is registered at residential tenancies. The place is full all the time. All they're getting is the 43,000 as declared. That's not a vacancy issue. It's the gap between the registration. And why it's registered so high is because they've had such poor expense history. So if they have any sort of a line item that is a high expense for the year, you go to residential tenancies, and if the average allowable increase that year is 1%, you can apply for an above guideline increase. So you could get, say, a 5% increase. That becomes registered as the rent on the unit, but that doesn't mean that's what they're collecting. It just means if the world all of a sudden everybody was making twice as much money tomorrow, they could jack the rents up. But they can't right now because the market won't bear it. So it's a balance between the laws and the market, and the market is 43,000 in income. So our stabilization was based on looking at 10 years in this case. The last three were horrible. In terms of the cap rate, I don't think we really have an issue with the assessment department's cap rate, because one of the issues on a cap rate is anticipation, and the performance is low. So one would speculate there is no way to go but up, which is why that when, normally if this was anticipated year in, year out, the 6.5 we have would be adequate, but we're being a little more optimistic, and we agree it's a good location. So I just want to change our number to 5.65%. And that's 251,256. 251,256, which rounds to 251,000. But last comment to make is that the previous year's assessment was based on the one good year they ever had, which was 23,000 in NOI, and 1 year out of 10. With the balance of the NOIs all hovered below the $12,000 mark, and so be it. That's what markets go up and down, and in this case, the expenses go up and down. That's my presentation.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Yeah, just a couple. Just in regards to the expenses they are putting out, the high expenses in the past couple of years, do you have any details in regards to where that money is going?
It's all just in general repairs and maintenance. The great example is like the permit you presented, fix a stairwell, $9,000. They're not capital in nature. I think in one of the years, I'm just looking at the outside windows. These things look original to me. That's usually the first giveaway. There was looks like that there was some paint done to the outside of it, maybe an acrylic paint. Paint, so issues. That would be one. That door looks like it's been repaired at some point. I don't have the breakdown of repairs and maintenance, but from my knowledge with this client and what they do, it's not a capital cost. It's just keeping ahead of the deferred maintenance.
Okay, and then just one more question in regards to the parking. I know it says, at least in my evidence, it says parking is not included, but it's not. So presumably that they're paying. It's not indicated on page 3 what they're receiving for parking. So is parking included in that $43,343?
Yeah, all the units would be they would run their rent rolls that way without a separate one for parking. I think you just get an allocation of a stall and it gets in the rent. Their statements are pretty straightforward, and I'd like to put this in perspective with this particular client. They began building apartments in Winnipeg in 1912. I think that they set the rules, not the assessment department, because they've been around longer. The way they run their statements. I mean, I'm just being I find that just kind of interesting that they haven't changed the way they do their books for 110 years. This is how they've always done them.
Okay, thank you. Those are all my only questions.
Thank you. Michelle, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
Gail?
I have no questions, thank you.
And I have no questions, so that concludes the first property. And Rocky, you're free to go.
Okay, and I just was gonna just one last thing, just because I've got nothing to do the rest of the morning. The last statement is we can argue about cap rates. I'm not going to. That's fine, but you can't argue about income because you can't make it get better. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we take a recess to allow our second applicant to connect?
Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute recess to get our next applicant. We'll reconvene the hearing this morning. The next property on the docket is 70 Bison Drive. And Henry, you have the remaining 9 properties. Are there any preliminary issues with any of them?
No, I don't think so.
Matt, any preliminary issues?
Not off the top of my head, but I don't remember.
Well, I'll take that as a no, unless you mentioned it at a specific property.
Okay, thanks.
Then I don't have to ask it for every property. Okay, Ms. Rojo, please affirm the applicant's testimony. And Matthew, I remind you, you're still under oath.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Applicant, please state your full name. Mr. Dupont, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can't hear Matt there, but
Okay. Would you please state your full name?
Henry Dupont.
And you affirm the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Matthew, let's test your microphone again. Henry indicated he couldn't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear.
Okay, let's proceed with 70 Bison Drive, and Matthew, you can make your presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So let me check my notes here quick. Okay, thank you very much. File number 22-1856. Roll number 0309161150 Bison Drive. $25 million, $309,000 original model assessment. It's built in 2013. It's got 96 suites, 96 indoor parking on record, 71 outdoor parking on record. On the first page, it says I don't have a recommendation. However, if you go to, please everyone go to page 5. You can see that I actually did make a recommendation on the property. I just, in my rush to get this in, I didn't put the line on the first page. So you can see I made a recommendation based on a revised net operating income. So what I did basically is I moved the management to 5% of effective gross income, moved the mortgage interest, and then I took the actual 2020 expenses into consideration to revise the net operating income to $1,025,567, which brings us a lot closer to the applicant. Still a little bit higher, but it's a lot lower than the model was putting out originally. And with our 4.65 cap, that reduces the assessment by a recommendation to $22,055,000. I'll just pause there for a moment.
Henry, were you aware of the recommendation?
No, I didn't have time to check. I would accept the NOI, but not the cap rate.
Okay, well then, Matthew, you can proceed with your full presentation.
Okay, thank you. So page 2, always handed in their mail, there's no problem. Subject sale history, it's a long time ago for a much lower valuation. And this precedes the time when the property was built. So I believe that would be land, but I don't have any details in regards to its arm's length status, so I didn't put any weight on it. Page 3 shows our income value summary. This is the model work up here. The applicant said they would accept the net operating income on the recommendation, so I'm not going to dwell too much on page 3 and 4 for the purpose of time. Page 6, this is our sample of actual sales that took place during the reference period. It's not meant to be site specific. So you can see here the sale that's most applicable in regards to this particular property would be 2390 McPhillips. We've calculated a 4.79% cap rate. It's North Perimeter area. Bison Drive here is, it's in the south. It's closer to the University of Manitoba. It's, in my opinion, a more attractive area for an investor and a renter. And we're at 4.65, so we're pretty close to what the McPhillips sale that I'm sure you've all heard a bunch about already. So I won't dwell too much about the other properties. I'll just simply, because it's a newer applicant, again, just restate this is just meant to substantiate some sales in the market, and it shows that outside of 700 St. Mary's, the sales that I found did bracket the 20th, 80th percentile of the modeled calculations. So let's see. Page 7, you can see that rural multifamily 4.8 to 5.6, 20th, 80th percentile. And then the rest of my brief here is just the mailer, and then pictures begin on page 11. You can see it's a new building, and it's got a gym area, modern type finishings. So given after my recommendation is a cap rate dispute, I think I'll just leave my presentation right there. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Henry, any questions?
Yes, your page 6, 2390 McPhillips. Are you aware that the rents were below market at the time of sale?
I know that's been brought up in regards to what the market is for that particular property. I just looked at what they were actually collecting. I know you guys are contending that it's below market, and I'm sure you'll present some stuff on that.
No, I realize that. I'm just wondering if you would consider using the market rent instead of the actual rents for that cap rate.
I wouldn't. I know that's our main source of dispute for this property, but I'm saying that we should go with the actuals.
Page 7, the cap rate you have there, 20th percentile is you start at 4.8 and you go to 5.6. This one's 4.65, so it's below your 20th percentile. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And the Collier's high rise, low rise starts at 5, and so does CBRE. So you're much lower than Collier's and CBRE.
I mean, we are lower. Cushman Wakefield does have a 4.75 cap. The workup for this will come in rebuttal, and you have yours, and I'm sure they've seen it already. But it is a fact that it is lower than the low end of both Colliers and CBRE.
Okay, that's the only questions I have.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
Yes, just in regards to this sale, which was July 2011. After that, was there building permits on file? Do you have a value for the building permits that were registered?
Let me see if I can pull that up for you. I know that would have been a while ago, and that is cost approach, which we don't do for apartments, but I'll still try and find that.
I'd like to interject. Is it proper for Matt to give evidence that was not part of his brief? It was not given into evidence?
Well, he's only giving verbal evidence, which happens anyway.
Okay, so you're allowing anything verbal? Okay.
Okay, so it says it was 13 million back in 2012, just on the cost, and income don't always line up. The cost approach is typically more something that bears more weight when the property is unique and there isn't income information or direct comparison sales available. So that's why the applicant and I are both using the income approach for apartments in this property in general.
Yes. Thank you very much. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Michelle?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. So it seems that the cap rate is the issue.
Yes, could we agree on NOI? Yes.
Okay, you can make your presentation then, Henry.
Okay, here it is. So go to page 12. So our income approach was there, and then the line 33, we have a 1,048,000 as NOI. The assessor is 1,025, so he's slightly less than I am. And the next page, the repair maintenance, you can see I have the flooring and appliance replacement. It's only $29 per suite per year. And so they're still very low because they're still new, so that these expenses will increase in the future. So it's part of the risk of buying a property like that. Once the flooring and appliances get to the 8 to 10-year life, they will have to be replaced. The repair maintenance will be increasing. So that actually the page before that, page 11, is the cap rates. So that's a summary of cap rate. So what we have, we'd say the 1999 plus should be 5.25, and I'm show the color CBRE cap rates also, which is the Matt's report. Other than that, I would go to the cap rate report. So I'm open to question on this part, or should I go to the cap rate report?
We'll go to the, you filed a separate cap rate report?
Yes.
Do we have that?
Yeah, the cap rate study is at the top of the items.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see it. Michelle and Gail, do you have it?
Yes, thank you.
Well, let's go to the cap rate report since that seems to be the issue.
Okay, see, I don't want to spend too much time on this, but the page 6 is the 10 cap rates that we have, 10 cap rate comparables. And the first one, 2390 McPhillips, is the same as Matt's, and we have 5.59%, and he's got 4 point something. Then we have the other cap rates, which were not that applicable to subject, except the last three. So the last three, we have 333 Ward, 5.07%, 718 Beach, 5.39, 100 Southview, 5.59. These are newer properties. It shows a year built, 2006, 2014, 2014. These are the three cap rates that we had when we settled the 2020 cap rate at the municipal board. We had settled 5.25 for that age group. Page 44, I believe. Is where the cap rate for McPhillips starts. So everybody's there. So we got the 3 years revenue and expense on that page, 2017 to 2019. And you bought it October 2020. And I believe the expenses were just about the same as what Matt has for his rebuttal. So the expenses are not an issue. What is an issue is the rents, actual rents, line 3. 2019, they had $1,445,000 in rent. But after purchase, there was a large increase. The purchaser increased the one bedroom by $245 and the two bedrooms by $395, or I believe close to $400. So what we have the table on the right, we have the Shimichi vacancy for built 2005, the one bedroom, two bedroom, and that the suite mix will be 3.47, and so that's what we've applied to the subject. And then the rents that they have for 2005, built 2005, is shown there. It's 14. 2019, it's for the two age group, the two types, one and two bedroom is 1461. But 2020 is what we rely on. 1317, this is the one bedroom, 1557 for two bedroom. The average for all types, 1483. But that subject suite mix is 1528. And that's what we inputted there, because this building has 79 two bedrooms, 11 one bedroom. So most of the rents are skewed towards the two bedroom. So we put in the market rents. Under that, it shows the pro forma when it was sold. Yeah, 1210 for one bedroom, 1373 for two bedroom. And you can see the Shimichi were 1317 instead of 1210 and 1557 instead of 1373. So it's a Shimichi rents versus pro forma. We added $104 for one bedroom, $184 for two bedrooms, based on market rents from the Shimichi. And knowing that the rents actually went up a lot more than 184 for the two bedrooms, went up by 400. But that was after reference date, so therefore we're sticking to the Shimichi rents for that age group. And so if we apply all the factors, go to the bottom of the page, it's 5.59 cap rate on this. We have a similar workup for all properties. We have the background data and the calculations. And that would be my report on the cap rate.
Thank you very much. Matthew, do you have any questions on the main brief?
Yes, I'll do that, and then I'll do my cap rate rebuttal.
Yeah,
I also have a rebuttal to the assessor cap rate, which I can present now or later.
what was that?
I have a rebuttal to the assessor cap rate.
Well, let's finish with Matthew's questions and the panel's questions, and we'll go back to the rebuttal to the cap rate.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll try and make this quick. So in regards to 70 Bison Drive, 2390 McPhillips, would you agree this sale is the most indicative of a reflection of what the cap rate ought to be?
We have this property, but we also have 3 others built after 2006 and up. So we have 3 more cap rates on newer properties. So we have 4 cap rates for newer properties. You have 1.
So for this one, this is out of all of the newer cap rates, this is the newest one in terms of sale date. Would that be a correct statement?
Yes.
And it's at a cap rate of 5.6. It's a lot higher than 333 Ward. Would you agree with that?
Oh, yes.
So is this sale not indicating that by your calculations that cap rates have increased since 2016 for newer properties?
I'm not giving a trend on this, but if it were increasing, it would be a benefit for the taxpayer.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, why didn't you use 5.6 for this property on the cap rate?
Because we settled 5.25 for that age group for 2020. We have 3 other cap rates that we have that are Beach and Southview and Ward. Would indicate 5.25. So instead of going to the higher cap rate, I went to 5.25. And we also have to be in line with the other age groups. So I didn't want to be higher than the other age group. So even though it indicates higher for this newer property, I went lower than the 5.6.
Okay.
For this age group.
Okay. And then just so you mentioned that you're saying that the rents went up after the sale. Where is that information in your brief somewhere here?
No, it's in the rebuttal.
Okay. So.
Maybe it is. I should check before I say no. Yeah, maybe it is. 04. No, I don't have the brief.
Okay.
The part that says the rents were increased after. Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying you got that you looked at an ad for what they're renting for now, and you made a determination that the rents had gone up significantly based on the ad?
Yes.
Did you take a look at the actual income and expense mailers after the sale to see what they're collecting?
First of all, before we go down this route, is the ad in evidence?
Not in this part, it's evidence in the rebuttal, my rebuttal, sorry.
Well, then we'll ask the question then, because
Okay.
I don't know, or none of the panel members know if this is post-reference information, because we haven't actually looked at it yet.
Okay, fair enough.
It is in fact post-reference, yes.
Well, then let's
Okay.
move on to something that isn't post-reference.
Okay, thank you. I just have one more question. So just looking at on page 44, you've stabilized the rent at 1,649,888. So in your opinion, when the vendor and purchaser got in the room to come with a valuation in regards to the income producing potential of the property, they opted to bring out the CMHC tables and calculate a rent using rents in the area from 2005 on versus the actuals. Is that where that number is coming from?
A purchaser that's knowledgeable, which is part of the definition of value, so that both purchaser and vendor are knowledgeable. If somebody is knowledgeable in buying a property with those rents, they would either know from Shimichi or their own experience of other properties of the similar age that it's below market.
All right, those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail, any questions on the rebuttal or the main brief?
I have no questions, thank you.
And Michelle?
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let's move to, and we'll just have to get it.
Henry, I don't
Yes.
see your rebuttal. Did you send it in earlier?
But at the time, a long time ago, but I can send it now. I mean, you can't find it.
Yeah, I'm sorry. This wasn't my docket, but I don't see rebuttal for you. So if you could send it now, and then I'll distribute to the panel members.
Okay. Do I send it just to the clerk?
Yeah, there's fine.
Matt, do you have the rebuttal?
I don't, but if he sends it over, that's perfectly fine.
So you don't have it?
I don't have it for this docket, no.
So I sent it a minute ago.
Do we have to refresh it?
I don't have.
You still haven't got it?
No.
Oh. We still don't have it, Henry.
There, it came in through.
Yep.
Oh, okay, it came through. There it is. Michelle, have you got it?
Yes, thanks.
Gail
Yes, I do.
and Matthew.
Yes, I do.
And I have it. So Henry, you can proceed.
All right, page 1, it says assessor comparable 2390 McPhillips. We have the paragraph showing that the purchaser ad after purchase indicate they increased the rents by 245 and 395 over pro forma rents, and that we use CMHC cap rate. We redid calculation, which is now part of our report. And then the next page, page 3, is that two other cap rates the assessor has. Some out of St. Mary's, which is very low, 2.6%. I don't think anybody relies on that. But the property was bought with intention to renovate. That's per enclosed letter from the manager. Purchaser was a first-time buyer, and the property was in rough shape with previous owner doing nothing for repair and maintenance. So the actual income stream at the time of purchase was not relied upon by the purchaser. The next one, 32 Arden, there's an ad showing the property was renovated, so therefore indicating intention to renovate. Also, the laundry income was missing for 2018, the year before the sale, and they had laundry income the previous 2 years, and we found out from the vendor, which was our client, that they were picking up the laundry themselves, and that's why the Sussex report did not have the income. So that the cap rate would be faulty with some information missing. So then the appendix, if you jump to page 6, this is the 5. That's the start of the ad, current ad, and it's November 15th, 2022.
Well, again, that's post reference.
Yeah, I do know that, and it shows that the rents went up after, and that's what alerted me to check to see the rents, what the actual rents were in relation to CMHC. So post reference itself should not be used. We use ads usually afterwards to see whether it's been renovated, or in this case that the rents were increased substantially after purchase. So the next page you can look at would be page 13. That's a letter from D7 saying that the property was in rough shape and etc. And then the next page after that is the 32 Arden showing the property was renovated, new appliances, fridge and stove, etc. Recently remodeled. And then we have evidence on the missing questionnaires with the missing laundry. So that would be my rebuttal.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Yeah, I'll just keep it really short. So so it was the ad beginning on page 7 is how you made the determination that you felt that the stated rents were below market. Would that be correct?
It's what alerted me. Yeah.
Okay. So are there any indications that there may or may not be discounts involved on these rents?
No, that's the rents. They're saying the starting rents. They're
So, okay.
$200 to $400 higher than the rent from the pro forma time of purchase.
So, okay, so just going back to page 3, so given the place only has like a 1 to 2% vacancy, looking at your subject stabilized, you're basically boosting those already in place tenants' rents by about $200 to $400. Is that an assumption that you think the new owner would do upon purchasing the property?
I did not boost the rents by 200 to 400. It shows that the Shimichi rent in my last column was $104 higher for 1 bedrooms and $184 higher for 2 bedrooms.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I just saw that line. So basically, the year after the purchase, you're saying that the new owner has boosted the already in place leases, which is the majority of the property, by that much.
Yeah, the 2 bedrooms went up at $395, but I used Shimichi rents and I went up by $184 in my workout.
Okay. And just last question: are ads always reflective of collected actuals, or can they be inaccurate based on your experience?
No, what they're asking. They're not inaccurate. That's what they're asking in the market. So that's very reliable information. They may be discounts, as you say, but an extra $395, if they have $100 discount, is still $300 more than actual. It still indicates the property was below market rent at the time of sale.
Okay. And just to confirm, this information is from November of 2022. Okay, and just for the other ones will be brief. For page 14, you got a letter from D7 in regards to 700 St. Mary's. It says here that there's nothing done in a while, but it also said he's done some renovations, including repainting and replacing the carpeting. Is that something you would consider capital work, or is that something you consider repair and maintenance?
If the property was in rough shape, whatever he does, upon turnover, he can get higher rents than when he bought it at. So his form of renovations is what could be considered for others as just regular maintenance. But the previous owner was not keeping up the regular maintenance. So therefore, just by going to regular maintenance, he's in fact improving as to what it was there before.
Okay. So you're saying that based on that, it should be excluded from cap rate consideration?
That's correct. It was bought with the intention to renovate, and I got more from calling. So he's starting to replace appliances, also flooring, painting, etc. So the rents he had at turnover were lower. He's increasing the rents whenever suite comes out in turnover.
Okay. And then just if we can go to page 41, please. There's a highlighted section of a municipal board report which appears.
Just let us get there. Hang on.
Okay. Let me know when you're good.
41.
Page 41 of the PDF, please.
Just a minute. Gail, have you got it?
I do, thank you.
And Michelle?
Yes, thank you.
And I have it. So proceed.
Okay, thank you. So just to confirm with the applicant, the purpose of including this order was to provide support that sales purchasers purchasing properties for renovation means they should be excluded from cap rate consideration. Is that a fair assessment?
Yes, they're saying if it's renovated after the purchaser's intention was not to rely on the existing income stream because they were intending to increase that income stream through renovations.
Okay. So on page 41, that first highlighted part about halfway down, it says the board does not accept that any intention of renovation disqualify a property sale or renovation must be of significant financial investment. One that would cause future rents to substantially increase and should usually involve the modification to a building envelope or realignment of structural walls. Has that happened at 700 St. Mary's?
No, I believe the board, what they did there was sort of putting a qualification saying not all renovations should be disqualified or sale, and the four comparables that they threw out from the assessor were not doing building envelopes and realignment of structural walls, and they disallowed those properties. They were simply renovated afterwards.
Okay, thank you. And then just my last, are you aware that for Arden on your page 15, the ad says that it's been recently remodeled. You are aware that the property was renovated in 2008 and 2009. Would you agree with that?
10 years before the sale, or 10, 11 years before the sale?
Yeah, that's what it says in your cap rate. What it used to be in your cap rate study. Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
Yeah.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not sure why you both continued with post-reference discussions when I did say it was post-reference material. But however, Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. They've been asked and answered. Thank you.
Michelle?
No questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So that concludes this property, correct?
I think Matt has a rebuttal on the cap rate.
I do. I'll go through it very quickly. There's a lot of.
Hang on. Ladies, do you have the rebuttal from?
I do.
Okay, and I do too.
Yes.
Okay, Matt, let's proceed.
Okay, thanks. I'll go quick. Page 2 just shows where we differ in regards to stabilization and the effect on the cap. As it pertains to this particular property, McPhillips is really the relevant one. But it's also important to keep in mind when we look at 333 Ward, about halfway down that first table, you can see it's at 5.07. Cap rates, you look at the national cap rates and Henry's chart, you can see that it has been declining. Makes sense, money's been getting cheaper, people can borrow more or less, and it's had put a downward pressure on the cap. You can see it comparably to our building. We have it at 4.79, whereas Ward 5.07 we agree with. Now, if you can see the first page, basically this is my workup here showing how I came to 4.79. Like Henry said, it's a small, the main difference is the income. I'm saying that they use the actual income. I'm not saying that they broke out the CMHC tables, came up with their own income. That's basically it. Look at the expense ratios, look at the net operating income, historical versus stabilized. It makes sense. And without beating a dead horse here, I've included the mailers and his workups and my stabilizations for his properties versus mine. He didn't really go through his, so I'm not going to go through my line by line, but there, the highlighted differences are there. It's mostly in repairs and maintenance. If you look at my figures, they're more reasonable. In my opinion, a lot of the Altus figures are really low, including Go to page 15. Altus included a really low year in their stabilization for 2016 for 210 St. Mary's, when they spent less than $1,000, which caused the repairs and maintenance to go really low. So essentially, because I know you guys can read and we're already at 10:15, I'm just going to leave it right there because 70 buys the drive really, it's a 2390 McPhillips kind of conversation. So I'll just have this in the record and leave it like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry, any questions?
Yes, just page 2, your table. So that it shows the city of Winnipeg cap rate in green. So the first one, McPhillips, 4.79, we're 5. East Row, Altus 5, but we're actually 5.6. So it means the next one, Corden, you agree with our cap rate. Maryland and St. Mary's, you're very close to our cap rate also.
Well, I wouldn't say St. Mary's we are. I'd say Maryland we're close, but there's a difference in repair and maintenance stabilization.
But the 5.71%, it would, on that property would support our position for cap rates for that age group. I believe it's at or near 5.75.
I believe so from memory, yes.
And 512 Balmoral and 277 Langside, you calculate 6.16 and 6.1. There again, that would support our position and much higher than yours. Is that correct?
Yeah, but the problem is the owner indicated that they didn't purchase it. The purchase price wasn't based on the net operating income in place. So when you use the net operating income in place, you get these higher cap rates. So there's a disconnect there. They're also on Balmoral and Langside, which if you live in Winnipeg, you know, is kind of an environment onto its own, and applying those sort of cap rates across the board is inappropriate based on the character of that particular neighborhood.
Anyways, to not spend too much time, but on Balmoral and Langside, you disqualified that. You say unusable because the owners on the questionnaire saying little check mark. Did you rely on the income stream of the property? And they say no.
Yeah, you can see it on page 18, line 32.
Right. So that one little question you're saying throughout the cap rate.
Yes, they said they purchased it. The purchase price was not based on their net operating income. So if you calculate a cap rate based on the net operating income, where the owner themselves had said there's a disconnect, you can't say that cap rate's what they used to determine the sale price. Maybe the sale price would have been different, which would have had a different cap rate. So,
and the question after that is just if yes, if you rely on the income stream, please tell us what your cap rate was. And people said no, because we don't want to tell the city what the cap rate is, or we have to calculate something. So that it's a tough question to answer, and they potentially just said no. Would you agree with that?
I think that we're getting into speculation now. Kind of the knowledge ends where they said no, and speculation begins in regards to maybe they said no because of whatever.
Okay, so we can speculate as to what the purchaser had in mind, but you speculated and you threw out the cap rate totally.
I didn't speculate. I based my decision in regards to what they indicated. That's where the facts end. Beyond that is speculation, and the board cannot make decisions based on speculation.
Okay, that's all questions.
Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Michelle?
No questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So that concludes this property, gentlemen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, the next property on the docket is 2350 McGilvery. And Matthew, you can proceed.
Okay, so let me get it. Sorry, I'm pulling up the the applicants to make this as streamlined as possible. Okay. Good here. File number 22-2766, roll number 0309297853 2350 McGilvery Boulevard. Been assessed value of $22,065,000, 2014 92 suite 73 indoor, 67 outdoor. Page 2, you can see the end of the mailers.
Matthew, can you speak a little louder?
Yep, absolutely. So, page 2, you can see it was handed in their mailers. We got a subject sale history in 2013 of only $900,000. I think that's land only, but I didn't investigate the sale any further. Glancing ahead, the applicant and I do have a highly similar net operating income within $2,000 of each other, so I'm not going to dwell on the income and expenses as much as point you to where we're different, which is the capitalization rate. We're at 4.6 on the cap rate as per our model. I did a review on the property. You can see here how close we are in terms of looking at the 2020 only. On page 5, you can see that we're about 1.3% off of just a management adjusted 2020 net operating income. So there has made no change. The applicant and I are still close on NOI. It is cap. Page 6, this is our cap rate stuff. You've already heard about that in depth. Page 7 is our chart. And then there's the mailers. The pictures begin on page 11 of the property. You can see it's got a nice exterior. And here's some photos. If you scroll to the end of the interior of the property, these pictures were taken by a member of our staff upon reviewing the property. So it's a cap rate issue. You've heard a lot about cap already. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry, any questions?
Yeah, your page 5, you actually have a recommendation where you reduce the NOI to 1,000,001.
Yeah, that's not a recommendation. That was just when I was making a table. I should have said valuation on it. However, you can see we're 1.3% apart, and that was only a 1-year analysis. You did a 3-year analysis and got within $2,000 of the model. So appraisal is not like an exact to the dollar thing, but I think within 1.5% is pretty close. So I didn't make a rec on this, but that's a fair point.
No further questions.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. Thank you.
Michelle, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. So Henry, you can proceed with your presentation.
Yeah, skip to page 20, my presentation. Once you're there, you'll see my net operating income. Let me know if you're all there.
Not quite yet.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I'm there. Ladies?
Yes, thanks.
Yes, I'm there.
Thanks. Okay, Henry.
Right, top of the page shows built 2014. It's a newer property. It gives you the suite mix. And then top right, I say the factors for this property is that it's inferior location with industrial properties on the west and north, old houses on the east. We'll have to show you the map to that. But the line 33 net operating income, we have 1,012,000, and the assessor, the original assessment was 1,014,000 or 1015 rounded. So we're very close. So we're mainly a cap rate dispute. So then we've presented evidence on cap rate and the site-specific factors for the subject. We can look at the page 8. Showing the maps of page 8. Shows the property in McGilvery. And then have aerial photo. So to the north is a big, large industrial complex, 2395 McGilvery. And they have a church, and to the west would be Fort White. And to the east is Costco, and Costco being on Kenniston. So that's all developed. So whenever I go down McGilvery, right after Costco, totally different. It's undeveloped or industrial. It's very different. So the property shown in the bottom right of that photo, and just to across the street from that, that's an industrial property also. To the north, it's industrial complex. And then I have in their aerial photo of that industrial complex, the big stacks. Then we have the next page, 2395 McGilvery, shows the size of the property. So it's a huge property. It's 166 acres. To the west, the next page is the Toledo Food Service. And then I have a photo showing that Toledo Food Service, which is an industrial building with the dock loading doors, etc. And if you look further up, it's got some older housing along that street. And the next photo is looking east. We see Costco and the background, but we see some of the old houses are there. And then just to the north of it, photo of the Thomas Design Builders and the industrial complex. So the Thomas Design Builders is also industrial property. Then we have the whole map. So we're saying that we're not adding a premium to our cap rate for that age group, 5.25, but we're saying we have all these other specific factors that would support that it should have a higher cap rate for the specific factors that it has. That's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Yes, please. So just going to page 40, or no, page 21 is the table here. You mentioned how, in your opinion, there's an inferior location with industrial properties. Does this have an effect on the, size of the pool of tenants they can pull from? Is it reflected in poorer than market vacancy? Just where is that reflected as a risk factor?
It's reflected in the cap rate, reflected in the rent, the ability to rent, and if it's not attractive for a potential renter because of the area, you will have less ability to rent. So that's a factor that follows the property from year to year because it's part of the industrial complex in the area.
Okay, so I'm just wondering how that comment ties into the fact that the average vacancy looking at the property is 1%, while the market vacancy is 4.2%.
It's all, and it's what rent they can get. So part of the rent and the vacancy, but all, I'm not saying it has to be high. If they're asking for too high rent, it would be high vacancy. So it lowers the rent that you can get because of the location, and it's a negative factor for anybody buying because it's a negative factor for potential tenants. Are you trying to question the fact that the industrial properties are not a negative factor? Is that what you're trying to say?
No, what I'm asking is, if it's such a negative in terms of tenant demand, why is the vacancy 4 times less than the market? That's all.
That's to do with the rents.
Okay.
It's all connected.
Those are, and okay, so, just one more question. You increased the vacancy from 4 times the average on your stabilized line. But that advantage wouldn't go away. Wouldn't that be reflected in downward pressure when considering a cap rate?
I use a market vacancy, and that would not affect the cap rate.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michelle, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
Gail?
Just in regards to the parking for the property, my question relates to that. There's 92 suites and there's 140 parking spots. So how is the parking managed, do you know, at that property?
I'm not sure what the question, how is it managed?
Like, is one parking spot assigned per suite and then the rest are visitor parking, are able to be purchased for additional costs? Like, how does the parking work?
It's normal, so that they may have a small amount for visitor and for something like that, maybe only 5 stalls, whatever. And the tenants can get an additional parking for additional fees. It would be in the questionnaires. Most newer properties will have a parking ratio of 1.5. They will have more parking than the tenants, especially if you have 2 bedrooms. So here they have a high amount of 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms. They have townhouses in there also. So that's quite normal for newer properties to have 1.5 parking ratio.
Thank you. Thank you. That's all my questions, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And my question regarding the actual vacancy of this property versus Henry, you using 4.2 has been answered. Thank you very much. So that concludes this property. The next one on the docket is 321 De La Cathedral. And Matthew, you can start your presentation.
Yeah, can I just take a quick 5-minute break and then I'll be good to go for the rest of the time?
Okay, certainly. We'll take a 5-minute break and we'll reconvene at 10:45. Thank you very much. We'll reconvene the hearing this morning, and the next property is 321 De La Cathedral, and Matthew, you can make your presentation.
Okay, thank you. File 22-1669, roll number 06093225-700, 321 De La Cathedral Avenue. Model valuation of for April 1st, 2021, 19,337,000. We've got actual year built, you can see 1912-2007, effective year built 1990-2007. So it's an assisted living. There's 2 sections to it. One section is older, that was originally built in 1912, and then it's got a newer portion attached to it that was built in 2007. Yeah, it's an assisted living, so they have like meal plan, a greater amount of on-site staff. The way we value these properties, I'm sure you guys know, is we value them as the potential as a normal apartment. So when you look at the number of suites, there's 142 suites. There's only 8 indoor parking, 22 outdoor parking, construction Class C masonry bearing walls. So there's a lot less parking than there are suites. Page 2, they've mostly been handing on their mailers recently. There's a dollar sale in 2016. It doesn't mean anything. So glancing ahead, I looked at the applicants brief, and unless something's changed, we do agree on NOI. On page 3, what you'll see here is our NOI, but it's got the modeled cap of 4.9. I don't think, now that I've had some time actually in the past 10 minutes to review the property, I think that's a bit too low. Given that it is a seniors building, they have smaller units, they have kitchenettes instead of kitchens, I believe. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a recommendation on this property using our net operating income 947,529. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a 5.6% cap rate. And that generates a revised assessment of 16,920,000. And that's just to take into consideration, you know, it's not 333 Ward, it's not 2390 McPhillips, it's something different altogether. You know, the applicant, I had some time to look at their brief actually, and when I'm looking at the physical and some of the issues brought up, I do think that 4.9 is too low. So my revised assessment, 16,920,000. I'll just pause right there.
Thank you. And Henry, obviously you just heard about the recommendation, and how do you feel about that?
I disagree with the cap rate. I want to go higher on the cap rate.
Okay, Matt, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, no problem. So yeah, so when you go to page 5, you can see we've got 2390 McPhillips at 4.79. We've got Arden at 5%. We've got Ward at 5%. This property is different. It includes a huge business income and expense element that we don't value as market value for property tax assessment purposes. That's why you can see here on page 8, you know, they're getting 3.7 million, and we only have them gross potential 1.6. Well, a huge part of the tenancy here is inclusive of those services that we're not valuing. So just, it's difficult, these ones, in order to, we try and look at them as normal apartments, but when you go to page 9, you can see that the monthly rent they're getting begins at $1,750, goes all the way up to almost $3,400. The average rent that we're using is only $945, because we're saying without all the services, just renting the units would be $945. So based on that, its uniqueness, I also know where the board has been going in past assisted living decisions. They aren't going at 4.9, they're going at about the 5.5 range, 5.5, 5.75. So I think 5.6 is pretty fair. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Henry, any questions?
Yeah, your page 1. Actual year built 1912 and 2007, and then you have the effective year built 1990. So you've increased the old portion quite a bit for the effective year built.
Yeah, that's a good question. That was automatically generated, so I'd have to look back into our building records and see at the time when the person put it on how they made that adjustment. But that's what was done. Yes.
Do you know what the square footage is for the 2007 edition?
Not off the top of my head. No, I don't.
So for assisted living or independent living, there's always the cap rate premium because it has a business component, as you said. Do you know what that would be in the past? Wouldn't it have been 6 to 6.5%?
Well, I know I've done a bunch with Fillmore Rally that have come in at about 5.5, as per the board. There's one, a River Ridge north of Chief Peguis. There's a couple buildings there. That's where they've gone in the past with those. So it's in the 5.5 range. The reason why I went to 5.6 is it's the inferior parking, which I'm sure you're going to ask me or bring up. I think that would be a factor as well. So I think going at 5.6, looking at that. is justified going up from the 5.5, what I've seen in the past.
No, the suite size that we have is 268 square feet for the bachelors, which we got from Asian Opportunities. Should you agree with the square footage that we have?
I'm not going to dispute what you're saying here, but that part of the adjustment is due to that implied. These assisted livings have smaller units because a lot of the services happen outside of their units. So as looking at valuing it as a normal apartment, that has to be taken into consideration. So
the fact that it has small suites, that should be reflected in the cap rate also.
Well, yeah, that's what I've done, and I'm doing that in line with historical, and it's also in regards to the rents as well. We have it, I believe, below average income quality in our system.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you. Michelle, any questions?
No questions. Thank you.
And Gail, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. So Henry, you can proceed with your presentation.
You'll see at the start, we have the photos, then we have the aerial maps. No, the appendix, page 17. That's the assessor's valuation, and I have to rotate. That the square footage at the bottom. They have the building 1, building 2, building 3. Shows the total square footage, and then the building details shows you which ones were built in 1912. So the first one is 1912, so many square feet, and then the 2007 portion shows there 19,691 square feet. So we show that as part of our evaluation. So page, before that, I'll go to the cap rates so that the starting at the income approach is that page 11. We have typos. The assessor 4.9 says in 6, and I believe that's not. And it's 6 is what we're asking. I believe that's not what the assessor has. The assessor has 4.9. We're asking 6.5. So just page 12. Cushman and Wakefield came out with a seniors housing industry overview. And they have an excerpt. They have a Q4 2020 cap rate survey report. And they have senior housing A and B, long care, term care, and we're not long-term care. So this is independent living. Assisted living, I believe, has also some nursing on staff. This does not. So sometimes they're intertwined, but nevertheless, we value them the same, whether it's assisted or independent. So you can see the Winnipeg cap rate under senior housing A is 6.25% to 7%, and B is 7.5% to 8.5%. So much higher. 4.9, much higher. What Matt has said, and I don't believe subject should be senior housing A because it's a 1912 building. Most of it. So based on that and the fact that in the past, the boards and municipal boards have given a premium for this type of property, basically because a lot of it because it's a business, has a business component. That's a risk, and also because it has a smaller suite, that's a risk. They don't have full kitchens, etc. So the next page 13, shows some of the factors we have for the cap rate. So we're saying even though the city has an effective age, 1990 or 2000 overall, the structural components are still 1912. It's a low parking car, 4-suite mix, large number of bachelor suites. We have the small suite sizes, 268, 416, 707. So we have a cap rate 6.5. to the next page, the income approach itself, page 14. We agree with the NOI that the city has, so we're strictly cap rate. So we apply 6.5% cap rate. So at the top of the page, we have the factors, and the bottom of the page, we have done the remarks that has a business component. Market for seniors is also limited. Physical compositions, inferior suites are small, contain limited kitchens, make it difficult to convert to apartment. These risks are captured in the cap rate. The appendix, page 23. This is the source that we have for the suite sizes, so that it's shown there. We redacted the rents because it's up to reference here, but it shows the bachelor suite 268, the one bedroom 416 square feet, then two bedroom 707 square feet. Then we have the next page, the report on this building. It's a historical building. It gives you the page 24, 25, etc. It gives you the some of the description of the building. That would be my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Yeah, so your page 12 here, it says Winnipeg 6.25 to 7, and then 7.5 to 8.5. But would you not agree that these cap rates were calculated inclusive of the business income?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, so if we went to just your page 14 here and just did a quick calculation using their actual average net operating income 183,964, and you divided it by your 6.5 cap rate, would that not generate a market value of 18,215,000?
Whatever exercise you're doing would have a business value component in that 18 million.
Right. So I guess what I'm trying to bring to light is that if we're going to use the report that calculates cap rates inclusive of the business income to make a determination of cap rate, you'd have to look at all of the income as well. If say they got rid of the business income, would that not have an effect on the cap rate?
When they're buying 6.5 to 7.5% includes the business component, so therefore they're buying the real estate as the same component, and they have an extra business component. It doesn't say the 6.5 is made up of 5.6 for the real estate and 8 or so for the business. It's an overall cap rate, so therefore that would apply to the total also.
Okay.
And the fact that the real estate, if it were to be converted to an apartment, this would not work. Small suite sizes, part-sized kitchen, only 2 appliances, or instead of 5 for new properties, etc. It would be inferior. So physically, it's also inferior as an apartment.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
I have no questions. They've been answered. Thank you.
Michelle?
Yeah, Henry, just to clarify, you did use the business component in your valuation in its entirety, or you did not?
I did not. So the 947 NOI, same as the assessor, we're evaluating the real estate component only, as if it were an apartment. So we accept the assessor's rents and the expense ratio. We disregard the actual income and expenses.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I have no questions. So that concludes this property. Let's make my notes. The next property on the docket is 1305 Taylor, and Matthew, you can proceed.
Okay, thank you. Just let me get set here quick. One moment. Okay. File number 22 dash 9471201 2902500 is the roll number. Address 1305 Taylor Avenue. Parcel use, it's an apartment, 10 stories, one building. In 1969, we had a very small effective year built of 1973 on it, 110 suites, 105 outdoor parking spots. I'm actually going to make a recommendation on this property. So what I did is I had a chance to look at the applicant's NOI on Friday. In comparison to ours, our net our income is way too high on this property. So I'm going to make a recommendation actually using the applicant's net operating income, which is $675,053. However, I am going to change the cap rate on this one to, let me check my spreadsheet here. I'm going to change the cap rate to 5.5, which generates a valuation of 11 million. Pardon me, let me just redo this quickly. I don't have this clear. Sorry, 12,274,000 rounded. I think the modeled cap rate is actually too high, but I also think the modeled net operating income is much too high. So a new valuation, 12,274. I'll just pause there.
Thank you. And Henry, how do you feel about that?
Three 10 stories. I'll accept that.
Okay, accept that. Gail, any questions?
I have no questions.
And Michelle?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. Okay, the next property on the docket is 5 White Crest Road. And Matthew, you can proceed.
Okay, let me pull it up here quick. Sorry, just pulling it up and trying to just take a glance. Okay, here we go. File number 22-1530, roll number 030679899005 Lake Crest Road, pardon me. Assessed value is 13,696,000. 1977. We don't have any effective year built on the property. Number of suites here, 96. 114 outdoor parking spots. 4 buildings. Page 2, mailers have been coming in. No recent sales. Page 3, 41 bedroom, 42 bedroom, 16 3-bedroom, 96 total units. Average monthly rent as per the model 1256.95. The model parameters here. We got 5.2 cap rate, and then operating income 712,183. Rent comparables are on page 4. We're at 1256. The comparables in the adjacent area. You can see there also 1, 2, and 3-bedroom units. 2 and 4 only have 1 and 2-bedroom units. Number 4 has got a higher degree of 2-bedroom units. It's also a 1989, so it's a bit newer on the original year built. On page 5, I did an analysis, just a very overarching look at the 2020 revenue and expenses submitted to us. So you can see they had a whole bunch of major repairs and maintenance indicated, which is indication of renovation. And I removed things like the appeal fees, management fees, and I added 5% effective gross income to revise the expenses. And then I redid the NOI. Came out to 711 through 92, which is very close to what the model NOI is spitting out. So, in my opinion, we're good in that facet of the property. And then with a 5.2 cap, it's modeled. You've heard a lot about cap today already. Page 9 shows some pictures of the property. It's where they begin. So you can see it's kind of like a garden style apartment. Looks to be in good condition. There's a pool. Looks like the roof's in good condition. Perhaps the balconies have been redone or at least painted recently. Page 10, picture of the exterior patio. So page 11. So when I was scrolling through this, you could see that there, when I was looking at the website, you can see some of the units are renovated. You can see on page 11. And some are not. I actually used to live in an apartment just like this. And when I lived down in Henderson, I didn't live in this particular one. It looked a lot more like on page 13, where you can see where some of the suites are in their more original 1977 condition. So it appears that there's a mix, and it appears that they are, I believe, renovating upon turnover. So I didn't make any change to the net operating income. I didn't make any change to the cap because we're not sure what proportion of the units look like page 11 and what proportion of the units look like page 13. We don't have an effective age on the property, but it looks like by virtue of the amount of major repair and replacement, the $150,000 range that they're saying they're spending, that they are putting capital repairs, and those units would, again, rent for more because work's been done to them. Simple as that. Didn't make any changes to the model valuation as such. That's my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry, any questions?
Page 18 of your report. That's the income statement. It shows the major repairs.
Mm-hmm.
In the middle, year-to-date actual, 155,838. So you've excluded all those repair maintenance in your calculation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And part of that, one of it is air conditioning replacement and appliance replacement in there is not normally allowed as a repair maintenance item.
Yeah, typically it looks like they're updating them from the older ones to the newer ones. But yeah,
Same.
typically that's something that's included
Yeah.
in repairs and maintenance.
Same as cabinet replacement, 7,700. That's relatively small amounts. It's being done on an ongoing basis. So it was not be normally allowed as an expense.
Yeah, but I mean, when you look at the cabinets they're replacing, they're not replacing them with like something that's comparable. They're replacing them with brand new that's going to garner higher rents. If you look at kitchen on page 11 versus the kitchen on page 13, you can see that there's, I would say that goes beyond repair and maintenance. I'd say that's an upgrade.
No, would you agree the actual rents that they have 2019, 2020 is based on the fact that they're doing these turnover upgrades at all times? So the rents already take into considerations whatever they're spending on cabinets and appliances?
Yeah, but the problem with that is that our physical reference date is January 1st, 2023. So if they're continuing to do this beyond December 31st, 2020, then the physical income producing potential of the property isn't completely reflected in 2020 year end. So it's an income that I wouldn't put a lot of weight on if we're looking at the physical reference date.
But would you agree the income in 2020 takes into consideration all the fact they changed the covers and appliances to up to date, up to that point in time?
Up to that point, which is 16 months before our reference date.
And you're assuming, speculating, there will be future renovations that you can capture in a supplement, maybe in the future.
It looks to me that's what they're doing. I don't think they stopped renovating December 31st, 2020.
So would you agree that virtually every property manager in the city of Winnipeg is upgrading their suites as they go along? You put new carpeting, new appliances, new cupboards as they go along. It's a normal thing for everybody to do.
Not to the degree that you see when you compare page 13 to page 11. Some of them just kind of like keep them going along, and then this would be like an RTB rent booster, in my experience, by the looks of it.
But the rents as a subject is totally reflected in those upgrades, whatever it is, whether it's beyond normal, below normal. All the rents that we have that we use actual rents includes those whatever major repairs that we had there.
Yes, 16 months shy of the physical reference date.
And so you said you don't want to use those repair maintenance because they may create higher rents in the future, but those repair maintenance created the rents that are there from 2019, 2020.
No, basically what I'm saying is it looks like they're renovating as people move out. So there's 16 months more of renovated suites than what's reflected at the end of 2020 income statement here. And because that's the physical reference date we're looking at, my concern is that the full income producing potential of the property January 1st, 2023 is understated.
Would you say Rancho has been improving their properties for years and years so that the 2020 assessment would have at that time also whatever improvements they had? And did you increase the assessment in 2023 for be more current? Did you issue a supplement? Was there a supplement issued in the past?
On this property in particular?
Yes.
Let me take a look. I know that there are other properties like on Allegheny. I know we've had this kind of discussion before. And it's the same kind of thing. I think it's actually the same type of finish. The problem is that the mailers they submit are 16 months behind more renovated suites. And I understand that that's just the difficulty of the system we work in. If they weren't renovating their units, then I would say for sure, yeah, I would put more weight on their actual income. But when we get to your report, you can see that the stabilized amount is a lot higher than normal And I know it's a garden apartment, but it's still higher than what a normal garden apartment would be, but I'm not gonna try and get ahead of myself here. I'm just simply saying that you take the actuals with a grain of salt.
But then you're speculating that it will be better condition in 2023, would have much higher rent than we have for 2020. You're speculating that it would be substantially improved by 2023. Is that correct?
I'm saying that there'll be more units that are fixed up.
And so now you're saying we should disregard the actual 2020, 2019, 2018, 2017 revenue and expense.
I wouldn't put very much weight on it.
Aren't you doing something extremely rare and totally against the market? Everybody is fixing their suite upon turnover. Everybody changes their appliances and their carpeting, the cabinets. Would you agree that there's very little mahogany cabinets left in apartments now because all been replaced over the years?
Well, I would say that it depends on how much money the owner has. Some of them don't have the money to do this sort of extensive repair, you know.
Okay.
It could be a situation where we need to put an effective age on this property because there is a greater proportion of renovated suites compared to unrenovated suites. But we don't know because I haven't inspected this property, unfortunately, given the time constraints of this time of year.
But if you inspected the property, you'd have to take into consideration with every other property of the same age to see what kind of rents and see what kind of fiscal attributes they have for each suite. It would be unfair to just change this one by inspecting one property. Isn't it a norm for everybody to upgrade their suites upon turnover?
Not to this extent. No, and again, I'll just circle back to what I said. It just depends on how much money is available at the time. Like the suite on page 13 isn't going to rent for as much as the suite on page 11. And the issue is, I don't know how much more of suites like on page 11 have existed because it appears that they're continuously renovating. So what I'm saying is you have to take their income with a grain of salt, potentially looking at page 11 saying, that's not 1977 anymore. So we just went with model.
And would you not agree that virtually every property built 1977, the majority, 80, 90%, 95%, do not have the original flooring, do not have the original counters, do not have anything original. It's all been fixed over the years. It's an ongoing thing. Everybody does it. Would you not agree with that?
Do you have that report and statistical analysis in your evidence that we can review after you're done questioning me? Because I don't have that in mind.
No, you're just saying it's more than normal. You're the one that has the burden of proof. So where's your normal, your norms? What evidence you have that everybody at that age will have the same original carpeting, the same original flooring, appliances, counters? What evidence you have for that?
Well, we don't have an effective age applied to this property. So the market rents that the model assigns is based on properties we don't have in our system that's being renovated, which is not the case at this property.
And the subject has 1,126 average rent per suite. So would you agree that if you had other 1977 buildings that did less upon turnover, they would have had less than 1,100 in rent?
Are you talking about the model rents, or are you talking about
the repair maintenance? Doesn't the level of repair maintenance establish a level of rents? Are they not connected?
Well, it depends if it. If included in the repair and maintenance is not capital work that would allow them to push the rents higher than what RTB would allow.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
Thank you. Just in regards to the pictures, Matthew, the pictures that are included. So where do those pictures come from? Was there an inspection done by the city, another department, or are these pulled off the website? Like, where do these pictures come from?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's taken from their website. So
Okay.
we haven't been able to inspect the property. Some of them have been extensively renovated, some of them are original.
Okay. Okay, thanks very much. I have no further questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Michelle.
No questions, thank you.
Thank you. And I have no questions. So Henry, you can commence with your presentation.
Yeah, the photos, you see the first photo and you see a bunch of wood balconies, wood exterior, wood steps. All these things cost more for repair and maintenance, so it's more of a high maintenance properties. We have some more. Then we have the page 2. It's a complex of multi buildings with the garden type complex with a lot of landscaping, also pool and metal. So we can go to the income approach. So the cap rate we have for this building, 1960 and 1998, is 1 to 5 stories, 5.5 cap rate. That's page 12. And then we show factors affecting the property. So it's wood frame, shingle roof, garden style, has wood exterior, stairs, and balconies. So it's a high maintenance property. So we give a 0.25% premium for negative factors. You buy this type of property, it's all wood on the exterior, it's not masonry. It will be high maintenance. So the next page, page 14, is the income approach that we have. So line 1, you see the potential gross rent. It was 1,291,000 2017, went up to 1,003,000, 1,004,000, 1,005,000. They're increasing the rents, they're pushing the rents quite a bit. They have discounts each and every year. So we stabilize at the potential rent line 3, the actual after discount, which is 1126 per suite. The assessor is much higher at 1257. Now, if that's 1257 that's their model, then it's subject to $100 less rent. I can't see his complaining that maybe we should give it a different effective age, because apparently we're $100 less than market. I think quite often the model takes actual rents into consideration and moves away from their own average rents, etc. Because quite often the rents are close for properties that are getting higher repair maintenance than others. We use a 2.2% vacancy on that, and then we added the parking and miscellaneous income. That has no laundry because they have their own appliances. So line 13, the effective gross that we have is 1,305 versus the assessor 1,387. Line 12, miscellaneous income, it was 6,000, 9,000, it went up to 60,000. We don't know exactly what that miscellaneous was. We checked 2021, it was back down to 8,600. So we stabilized at 2018, 2019 average. Expenses, we stabilize expenses normal way. The actual 2020 for insurance, utilities, and taxes, etc. Some of the minor items, professional fees, sundries, 3-year average, waste and store 3-year average, and the only one that's could be subjective with the repair maintenance. And it shows line 27, the actual repair maintenance it has from the financials. And we stabilize at the actual 2652. And that's on the next page. So all the data on those financial statements, some are shown under major repair maintenance, some are shown under maintenance. We put them all in here to this spreadsheet. The first 4 items normally considered CapEx, capital expenditures, except if it's done on a regular basis. So that if you replace a roof like you did in 2016, we would disallow that. but repairs to roof on an ongoing basis is allowed. Same as water tank, hot water tank. If you have only one, we would not allow it, but this is multiple hot water tanks, and they're replacing that on a recurring basis. So what we did was stabilize the hot water tank at the 5-year average times 50%. Waste and storage done separately. Windows and doors, you can see they're doing that on an ongoing basis all the time. That's something that's part of their regular maintenance to maintain this block. We've allowed the 5-year average times 50%. We've allowed the pool expenses. They have a pool, they have to maintain it. We have allowed that, the 5-year average. Same as the parking lot. Parking lot, you should allow the repairs. We should not allow replacement, so we've allowed that. General building, you see anything that doesn't fit in these other categories, we allow the 5-year average. So flooring replacement is shown there, and they're spending $143 per suite. We don't show the maximum, but our maximum is $500 per suite. That's the cost of flooring for 1 and 2 bedroom average divided by 8-year life. So their flooring replacement is not exceeding the maximum with the 8-year life. Same as the appliance replacement, 135. That's below the maximum. It's below the 8-year turnover. Painting, our maximum is usually 225, so they're below that. Counters and cupboards, they're doing that on an ongoing basis. So whatever they're doing that each and every year is reflected in the rent. So you can't say, well, accept the rent, but not accept the repair maintenance as necessary to get those rents. Building exterior, because it has so much wood services that would have done on an ongoing basis. So they do recur each and every year. They vary from 30 to 71, 45, 49, 36,000. They average 46,000 over the 5 years. We cut that in half. We stabilize at 50% of that. I believe it's extremely reasonable. I believe if I went to municipal board, I would likely increase that. So Mac, take note. I would likely increase the building exterior going forward. The grounds, I did a 5-year average. It's a garden top apartment, so they have those repair maintenance. Remaining repair maintenance, we below the 5-year average. So we stabilize each of our item. We get to 2652 is what we stabilized at compared to the actual. The last line after capex and after waste and snow, and the capex is the items in red. What they're actually spending is those amounts there, which average $29.90 per suite over the 5 years, but we stabilized lower at $26.52 because we took some item times 50% and some items the 5-year average. So the previous page, page 14, when we put the repair maintenance in that, which is the amount that is going into this property, that's generating those rents. So those rents that you have is based on what they're putting into property for repair maintenance. So I believe every owner, the owners that we have are doing this on an ongoing basis. Some are on high end at all times for repair maintenance, and they're high end at the rents also. And those at low repair maintenance will have the low rents. And so we use the actual low repair maintenance. When there's low rent, they match. I'm totally against anything, Matt, with the speculation. In the next 16 months, they may have increased the physical condition. I believe it's totally wrong to even consider that. The assessor can capture any renovations that would create higher rent by doing a supplement. It should not have anything to do with the hearings of the Board of Revision. So the cap rate we apply is 5.75%, which is the 5.5% for this age group, with a 0.25% premium due to the fact that it's high maintenance, with shingles, etc. And we get a value of $10,921,000, and that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Yeah, page 15, please. So this is the workup. So do you have an effective year built on this property at all?
I know I just showed 1977.
Okay. So in your opinion, is the work they're doing reflective of maintenance, aka maintaining condition, or is it reflective of improving the property?
It's improving over the original 1977, as all other buildings built around 1977. Nobody has the original and their properties. Virtually every property, every apartment, every high rise that we have has improvements upon turnover.
Okay, so if they were improving it beyond maintenance, like you're saying, that could potentially exempt them from rent control increase, right?
That's why the rents went the line one from 1,291,000 to 1,539,000.
Okay, so
they're pushing their rents as whatever they're putting on turnover, they're capturing in the rents by increasing their rents.
Okay, but that you're saying that wouldn't involve an effective age adjustment at all?
No, because everybody is doing it.
Okay.
I would challenge the associate to find a 1977 building or the majority of 1977 building at the original condition. They don't exist.
Isn't that pure speculation on your part?
No, I do financial statements for Altus does financial statements for over 75% of all apartments in Winnipeg. So we have huge, maybe even 85%. I do the majority of apartments. I went to the municipal board from 2012 to 2020. I did all the apartments in the municipal board. I have gone to hundreds, maybe thousands of financial statements. It's a normal thing from my experience, probably with over 1,000 properties.
Have you inspected any of these properties?
Most of the time I don't inspect. I don't need to because the inspection doesn't tell me anything. It's all reflected in the financial statements.
Okay, I have another question here. So typically with RTB, what's rent control, like 1%, 2%? Would you agree with that, in and around that ballpark?
Yeah.
And I noticed between 2019 and 2020, the 2019 effective gross income is only 92.1% of the 2020 effective gross income. Is that a normal jump?
I would go further. The difference between 2017 rents and 2020 is 19%. So they have for sure went higher than the rent control guideline.
Okay. And then just looking, I'm just wondering, like, I'm not going to go on forever because we're just one more question. Two more questions, actually. 2020, they reported 1381. You're stabilized at 1305. City's at 1387, 190. Does it give you any pause that the city's so much closer to what they're actually reporting in the most recent year than what you stabilized at?
See, 2020 had the actual was 688, and the year before was 497. We have to stabilize. We never go on a 1 year only. We stabilize each individual item. You do the same thing when you go to the municipal board, and you do the same thing with 5-year history. I mean, that's when we go to municipal board. So, we don't rely on the last year. We stabilize each and every item.
Okay, but just given the fact that they're renovating the units continuously, it would seem, wouldn't it make sense that the most recent year's effective gross income would have the most weight put on it?
We use the actual rent for 2020. We stabilize the expenses over different years, averages, or actual 2020 for certain items. So we because it's being renovated on a turnover basis as every other apartment or majority of apartments, we use the actual 2020 rents. That's how we start. We start virtually every property, same thing. We don't do averages when it comes to rent. We take the most recent rent.
Would you agree that there's better than market vacancy historically as reported on this property?
Yes.
Okay. Those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle, any questions?
No, thank you. No questions.
And Gail?
I have no questions. Thank you.
And I have no questions. So that concludes 5 Lake Crest Road. The next one on the docket is 497 A Street. Matthew, you can see.
Okay, let me pull this up. Okay. File number 22-1557, roll number 12014507000, 497 Hay Street. $409,000 on the 2023
And
assessment.
Matthew, you'll have to speak up a bit.
Okay, no problem. $409,000 on the 1956 year built with no effective age applied to it. It's got 6 suites, 4 outdoor parking spots. Request for income information, page 2. There's a subject sale, but that's it's $1 and has a much higher sworn value. That was didn't involve other properties, so no weight will be placed on that sale. I advise the panel to please not consider that. Page 3 shows our model workup here. We've got so we've got 2, 2, and 1 in terms of the pardon me, unit breakdown. $771 on the rent on this property. It's modeled parameters on this one. 5.65 cap rates for a valuation of 409,000. It's only 81,800 per suite. We've got rent comparables on page 4. Similar, actually, we fall kind of below the range here of other ones in the neighborhood of similar vintage and breakdown. One thing to note is this property does have 2 bachelors. The comparables I don't think the income is actually something that is in dispute on this one. Just taking a look at the property here, you can see on page 8, that's a photograph of the exterior. And then we've got the mailers that follow. I believe there's a cemetery that's behind this property if you're looking for what kind of neighbors are there.
You're going to have to speak up again.
Oh, okay, sorry. There's a cemetery behind the property. So we just have model on this one. I believe the most of the dispute in regards to this one would be in regards to the expenses. So I think we'll touch on that when we get to the applicant's brief. So it's just a model valuation on this one. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry, any questions?
So would you say the cemetery is a negative feature?
For me personally, I wouldn't say so.
Oh, you love cemeteries?
I don't know about love, but I don't want to go there personally. You know what I mean? But I think the neighbors are quiet.
It's all the questions I have.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
Just in regards to the number of suites in this property, on the first page of your presentation, it indicates 6, and then in the breakdown, it indicates 5 on page 3. So I'm just wondering, what's the 6th suite?
I'm I'm not sure where that comes from, but I know the applicant does have 5 and we have 221 as our breakdown. So I'm going to go with that. It is 5 units, not 6.
Okay. And that's all my questions. Then all the calculation then is based on 5.
Just let me open this. I believe so. Again, these are automatically generated. We have the same breakdown: 2 bachelor, 2 1-bedroom, and 1 2-bedroom. And our part of our program where the rent is generated from. So it is indeed based on 5 units.
Okay. Thank you. That's all my questions.
Michelle?
Asked and answered. Thank you.
And that's been answered for me as well. So thank you, Gail. Henry, you can start with your presentation.
Page 7, we have a nice picture of the cemetery facing the back of the units. And the Google map below it, you'll see 47 Hay. They had that large cemetery on the Google map there. So that we can go to the page 11. So the cap rate for this age group, 1946, 1959, is 5.75 that we have from our study. And we applied a 0.25% premium due to the negative factors. So page 13. Revenue and expense line 13, we're 45,000 and the assessors 44.8, so we're similar on the rents. But you look at the rents line 3, it's 712 per suite, so they're not high rent. If you look line 1, the rents have not been increasing, so their moderate repair maintenance they're putting in is more on the low end compared to other properties, so that there's different properties are so what you spend on your property and repair maintenance will reflect on the rent. So here it has relatively low rents. The suite mix, we see it's a 4 suite mix. 40% is bachelor, 40% 1-bedroom, only 20% is 2-bedroom. Now expenses, we stabilized as normal for most items. Insurance and utilities, taxes, caretaking are the actuals. Caretaking line 28 is low, mainly because it's captured in the rent. Line 1, 2, the discounts. I have the breakdown, and that's shown in the financial statements. They show 2 types of discount: 1 for rent, 1 for caretaker. Repair maintenance is on the next page. We have the 5 years. Very little under capex, or nothing in a capex. The windows and door we allow $42. In parking lot we allow $345. The flooring replacement is actually $226 is what we allowed versus $500, so it's half normal and lower than normal appliance and painting. We disallowed the items in red at the bottom, building exterior for 2017 and the grounds for 2016. Those were higher, so we did averages excluding. And the same thing for remaining repair maintenance items that are not categorized in particular names. We disallowed the high year 2016. So our stabilized repair maintenance is 1686, and that goes in the prior page. So our NOI is 18,104 versus the assessor 23,000. Our cap rate is 6, the assessor 5.65. We would be some 5.75 without the negative factors. So our base cap rate would be close to the assessor, but we had 4% due to wood frame, 4 suite mix, and backs into a cemetery. So that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Where do you have anything in your report that would say that quantifies why backing onto a cemetery is undesirable?
The there's no such thing as something that could quantify that. It's something, it's common sense.
All right, well, I think I'll just, also, okay, just so one more question. Just at this price point, what do you have, 301,000? Would you not agree that there'd be a greater pool of potential investors that would bid on this property, inclusive of, couples, groups of friends who might, that might cause the eventual sales price to go up?
No, I don't believe that.
Okay. And so that at all wouldn't put downward pressure on the cap rates?
We have basically the same base cap rate as the assessment department. 5.75 base for us, 5.65 for you. So it's a 0.25% premium for negative features.
So what sort of features would cause a reduction in cap rate? Because I've never seen you ever do that before.
We don't.
You don't do that? Okay.
No.
So why not?
Just not done.
Okay.
I've never seen a president of a municipal board doing that. I've never seen anybody do that.
So I guess just the way I'm trying to read it, just in your opinion, basically the cap rate sales in your study would represent like perfect sales, and then anything with other features would need an adjustment. Is that the way I should read it?
When there's negative features, it will follow the property. So when you have a 4-suite mix, that will follow the property. No matter what the owner does, you have the 4-suite mix. The cemetery backing into that is the negative feature that will follow the property for the rest of its life. And the fact wood frame also. Those are negative features.
Did you put any premiums on your cap rates in your cap rate study? Like, did you add any, after you calculated a cap rate, did you add a premium to any of those?
No, cap rates are not done like that. You extract a cap rate based on its income stream, and then you get a cap rate from it.
Those are my questions.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
Just on that topic of the cap rate and the negative features, so 0.25%, and you said that's based on 4-suite mix. So because there's 3 different types of suites.
No, bachelor's is a poorer. It's the poorest type suite mix. So if you have a property with lots of bachelors, you cannot do too much with the property like that because you get small suite size and can only attract certain level of clients, etc. So that the suite mix is bachelor's the weakest, 1 bedroom is not bad. The 2 bedrooms are the best. So what you would want is maybe 50% 1 bedroom, 50% 2. Newer properties, a lot of them have more 2 bedrooms than 1 bedrooms.
Okay. And then the other negative features that you noted, you mentioned the cemetery as being negative, and also the wood frame of the building being negative. Was there any other features?
No, that's the 3 features.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Those are all my questions. Thank you for your presentation.
No questions, thank you.
I have no questions, so that concludes 497 Hay Street. The next one on the docket is 646 Osborne Street, and Matthew, you can proceed with your presentation.
Okay, thank you. So let me get a quick look at this so I can streamline.
You're going to have to speak up again.
Yeah, let me get a quick look at this so I can streamline my presentation, please. File number 22-1567, roll number 12000815000, 646 Osborne Street. Assessed value 746. $1,000, 1953 with no effective year built on it. 8 units, 5 outdoor parking. You can see on page 3 the breakdown: 6 1-bedroom, 2 2-bedroom, 858 on the effective gross income, which is pretty close to what the applicant's saying. We've got our modeled expenses and cap rate at 565. With our estimated market value of 746. Our rent columns are on page 4 or similar, so I'm not going to dwell on them in terms of effective gross income. Cap, you've heard plenty. It's an Osborne, high demand for rent. Looking at the picture on page 8, you can see like it looks like they've done the windows on the outside. The outside looks like it's in good condition. There's a description here. Feel free to read that in terms of what it features, and then there's the mailers that follow. Just went model evaluation on this one. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. Henry, any questions?
No questions.
Gail, any questions?
I have no questions, thank you.
Michelle, any questions?
No questions, thank you.
I just have one question, Matthew. Why is there a dollar sale on a $3 million?
Okay. Well, I believe this is the same sale as the last property. So it involved multiple parcels. It's not reflective of the valuation of this property on Osborne in 2006. So I would ask the board not consider it.
Okay, thank you very much. That was my only question. Henry, you can proceed with your presentation.
No, you'll see the photos in an older building on Osborne. No balconies. It's the old type building. The cap rate, we use 5 3/4, I believe, for its age. It's on page 11, based on our cap rate study. I would remind the board that the assessor on the cap rate and the rebuttal, etc., they were virtually in agreement with the Altus cap rates for that age group. So we're for pre-1946 to up to 1998, we're virtual agreement on cap rates with our cap rate comparables. We disagree with newer properties, 5.25 that we have versus the assessor lower than that. And neither the assessor and us have anything for pre-1946 cap rate. So anyways, this particular type of properties, there should be very little disagreement on the cap rate because our comparables are pretty much the same. So the page 12, we have the potential gross rents, and these are suspect statements. They don't calculate, give us the data, so we calculate vacancy. They show just the rent that is received. So vacancy is included, and so that's what we stabilize at the 2020 rent. So $820 in rent for property built in 1953. So it's probably a bit high on the high side. Suite mix is okay, 6 1-bedroom, 2 2-bedroom. So at line 13, we stabilize 80,000 versus the assessor at close to 80,000. So we're slightly higher, very, very close. Our cap rate at the bottom, we're only 0.10% apart. So the main difference is in the expenses. It's our main dispute. So line 114, insurance, it was kind of erratic. It went from 1,500, 17, down to 500, and back up to 44.83. And that's what we used to stabilize last year. There was 5% management, professional fees and sundry, 5-year, but 3-year average, not all line. And advertising is a small one. We use the actual utilities, and that's pretty much in line also. Waste and stove, pretty much in line. Repair and maintenance, we stabilize. Site specific is on the next page. And then the taxes, we use the taxes they have for the last year. So the expenses for line 31 for 2020 is low, mainly because of repair and maintenance is only 5,000 for that year. All other years at 21, 27, 18, and they were slow for 1 year. So we stabilized at 17,000. We're 12,000 higher than actual on that one item only. And then the 2019, the NOI also has to be adjusted because it's very low insurance for that year. So the next page is repair and maintenance. So the first four items in red, there's very little there. We stabilized zero for those four items. Windows and doors had very high amount in 2016. We didn't use any expenses on repair and maintenance. Parking lot, we used a small amount, the 5-year average that had $97. Flooring replacement, we use a 5-year average, which comes to $379 per suite, which is less than the 8-year turnover rate of 500. Appliance, we use 5 years, which is half of the normal turnover rate. Painting is high, so we went to the maximum, 225 per suite, which is the average times 55%. So the average is 3,200, and we went to the maximum 1,700. Plumbing, we excluded the high year. It's easier to follow. The items in red is the items we disallowed. We disallowed fire and safety for 2017. Remaining R&M, we disallowed 2 high years. So then we end up stabilizing at 2173 per suite for repair and maintenance. And that goes into the previous page. We get the NOI and SOAR value of 605. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
Yeah. So on page 13, have they been renovating the units at all, or would this be like maintenance level repair and maintenance?
This is maintenance. The flooring and appliance is less than normal, so it's less than the 8-year replacement average. But I'm sure the flooring that it replaced is not the same flooring as they had previously. It's not the original flooring for sure. Same as appliances. They would upgrade the appliances over the original. That's what they do. Counters and cupboards is very low, $179 average, which is $22 per suite. So that part is very low. So they're not putting money in there whatsoever.
Okay. So no details in regards to why the insurance jumped so much in 2020. It's not like the asset got so much better. They have to pay a higher premium. Do you have any information in regards to that?
I checked quite a few Sussex. For some reason, 2019 was really low for all their properties, and then they went back up.
Okay. And you didn't want to put more weight on the more recent year of repair and maintenance, which is, lower than normal. But in your opinion, 2173 is typical for a building like this, 1953, 2.5 story?
I don't go with typical. It's what this property is producing on a site-specific basis. It produces a certain level of rent based on a certain level of repair and maintenance. We take the recurring repair and maintenance, we take that last year rents, and that's how we stabilize. A site-specific basis.
And just to be clear, the expense ratio you stabilize that is 16% higher than 2020 expense ratio. Would that be a fair statement?
Well, it's higher than 1 year. Yeah, we stabilize each item over a long-term basis. The repair and maintenance to have to 1 year, that's really, really low. So we do, like normal, we stabilize the repair minutes over a 5-year analysis.
Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Gail, any questions?
Just in regards to the cap rate, so the cap rate you propose differs very little from what is assessed by the assessor, 5.65 to 5.75. So what would be, can you quantify the 0.10 difference that you're asking for? What should the weight be considered on there?
5.75 is what we have done from our cap rate comparables. It has nothing to do with the assessor. We don't take the assessor as a base and add or subtract. We do our own analysis. And this one, it happens to be 0.10 difference. But the 5.75 for the age group is what we settle at the municipal board for that age group at the municipal board. That's what our cap rate comparables indicate, and as per cap rate evidence, the assessor's cap rate calculation for this age group is pretty much supporting what we have.
Okay, thank you. That's all my questions.
Thank you. Michelle?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions, so that concludes 646 Osborne Street. The next one on the docket is 467 Woodward. And Matthew, you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. File number 22-2449, roll number 12014767-200, 467 Woodward Avenue, 2 stories, 1963, no effective year built on the property at all. Just let me take a quick glance ahead here. Actually, I did a review of this property last Friday. At the end of the day, I reviewed the applicant's stabilization. Actually, looking at the numbers, they do seem to be normal. It looks like we are overstating the income, so I'm going to make a recommendation on this property. I'm going to use.
You're going to have to speak a little louder.
Yeah, sorry. Maybe if I turn my volume up. I'm going to use the applicant's net operating income. This everything in spec looks reasonable, and we are too high.
Now
We're too high on income. Oh, great. Let me know when I become unfrozen.
It's okay. We can hear you, Matt.
You can hear me now? Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take the applicant's net operating income. Actually, you know what? I don't have a problem with his indicated market value of $1,258,000 rounded. So I'll make that recommendation. It's probably I'll just stop there.
So you're making the recommendation to accept the applicant's evidence?
Yeah, we're too high on effective gross income. It's obvious. I don't have any issue the way he's stabilized, so I'm fine with that if he isn't changing anything.
Henry, any questions?
No questions, and I agree.
It's hard not to. Gail, any questions?
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
Michelle?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. Thank you. And the last property on the docket today is 500 Centennial. And Matthew, you can start your presentation.
Okay, thank you. Just give me a moment to kind of get my bearings here. So I'm just reviewing this quick so we can make this efficient, but also smoother presentation. Okay, here we go. file number 22-1526, roll number 1207198 for 000 500 Centennial Street. Assessed value 1,639,000 is in 1959. No effective year built on it. 15 suites, 10 outdoor parking spots. We've got our request for income information on page 2. No recent sales. We've got our model valuation here. 6 one-bedroom, 9 two-bedroom, 15 total units. 938 on the income. Applicant actually's got higher income than us. I don't see that being an issue. The net operating income he's presenting is slightly higher than ours as well, so it's a capitalization thing. On this one, we're at 5.2 as per the model. So pictures, there's a picture on the outside, 8 on page 8 of the place. Again, just went with model on this one, and it looks like we could be a little bit low on the net operating income based on the applicant's site-specific analysis, which at first glance looks to be fine to me. So I didn't make a change. That's my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you. And Henry, any questions?
The 3 other properties that we had before were also built in the 50s, and you had cap rates from 5.65 to 5.75. Do you know why we're lower on this one?
Well, that's a very good question. I'd have to say that this one is in River Heights and the other ones were in Fort Rouge. In terms of year built and lack of effective year built, though, that they are highly similar, no dispute there. So the best I can tell you is based on the area, the model assigned it a different cap rate.
That's all questions I have.
Thank you. Gail, any questions?
Been asked and answered.
And Michelle?
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. So Henry, you can proceed with your presentation.
Yes, so I guess you could see the, if you have the report, you could see the photo. It's an old walk-up. Then we have the map. It shows it's Centennial, east of Kenniston, River Heights, and I believe that there's no cap rate premium for going being in River Heights. And so page 11, our cap rate evidence indicates 5.75% for that age group. And that's the base cap rate we give for all of these properties. And on the subject, we don't have any premium for any of the factors. So the next page, page 12, we show the parking is 12 on 15 suites, so it's almost 100%. I mean, it's a bit less, and a suite mix is pretty good. So we're not applying any cap rate premium. Line 13, we stabilized 171, which is higher than the city at 163, which is 954 per suite. Stabilized items are fairly normal. All these items, insurance, utilities, and taxes are the actual last year, 2020. Some of the other items, the 3-year average as usual. Repair maintenance is shown as 1452. We go back to 2014 there. So some of the years. So it says at the remarks at the bottom of 2020 Board of Revision, we were 1744 repair maintenance erratic. So now we're stabilizing at a lower repair maintenance that we had for last year, 2020, sorry, the last assessment. So we end up with the higher income because of that. So net operating income is 88,000 versus the assessor's 85. So it's virtually no dispute because we have higher, and Matt says he had no problem with my income approach. You can have a quick peek at the repair maintenance on the next page. So we stabilized virtually everything at the 5-year average, show a longer term flooring replacement. They had virtually nothing 2 years, 2017, 2018, but they had a higher amount in previous years. Anyways, we stabilized at 5-year average for all items. So back to page 12. Our main difference is in the cap rate. We 5 3/4, the assessment 5.2. And that's the cap rate for the age group that we have. And our value is $1.5 million. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Matthew, any questions?
I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Gail
No, I have no questions. Thank you.
and Michelle.
No questions, thank you.
And I have no questions. So we've heard all of the items scheduled today, and this hearing is now adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.